guys, Marsingen here, bringing you another Dragon Ball Z Dokkan battle video, and so I thought this would be a good idea for a challenge run. I wasn't sure how possible it was going to be, but yes, here we have the Red Zone Metal Cooler Core, potentially the hardest boss in the game, right? The debate is still basically between this guy and Broly, not including Cell Max, obviously, because that's a very different type of animal when it comes to difficult events. But when it comes down to the hardest Red Zone boss, the debate is pretty much still between Metal Cooler Core and Broly. Both of them have their own specific things that make them harder than the other one. But they both have those sort of strong points. And the funny thing is, actually, the origin story of this run is I actually originally wanted to do the run against Broly, because I just thought that video would be more hype, right? Like, everybody loves Broly. But my 3 attempts for the day today ended in failure. So I thought, oh, I'll try the Metal Cooler Core one. For some reason, I just genuinely thought it would be harder for this team. And I definitely got lucky along the way. I'm not going to say it was easy, but I actually did this on the first attempt. So there's a couple of things about this fight that really work in the LR Piccolo's favour. And one of them is obviously the fact that the Metal Cooler army attacks so many times during the turn. And then the second part of that is, of course, the fact that because you can't kill the Metal Cooler Core early, so you always get 3 turns, which means you're not missing out on, like, say for example, physical Dokkan Fest Piccolo started in slot 7, you're not missing out on any stacks for him by, like, killing the enemy too early. Like, you're always going to be in this phase for 3 turns. And so I think on this one turn, I think it is this turn in particular, this Piccolo gets hit 7 times, which means if you're familiar with his full passive, that means that now, as soon as we drop below 30% HP, that Piccolo is going to give us the full heal ability and then get the extra damage reduction for the rest of the fight, because you not only need to drop below 30% HP, but you also have to have been hit 7 times before that. So obviously LR Piccolo is the MVP, but he's not the only unit on the team, right? Like, this event, especially with the fact you have to fight the Metal Cooler army for 3 turns, this isn't an event where, you know, Piccolo just comes in and solos. Especially because, remember as well, you can't use his giant form, the orange Piccolo transformation, if you don't have a full superheroes rotation until turn 6, and you always start the Metal Cooler Core on turn 4. Unless you've obviously delayed the turn before that by actually having a superhero rotation and transforming on turn 3, those kind of shenanigans. So obviously that means we have to go through at least 2 turns of the Metal Cooler Core before we can use the orange Piccolo transformation. So fortunately, the Metal Cooler army can be attack lowered, and quite a few units on this team do lower attack, because I do think that if that wasn't the case, we potentially would have been dead on this turn, because with the Metal Cooler army super attacking both in the second slot and in the last slot, the only choice for putting the Tech Piccolo on the rotation was to put him in slot 1, and if the enemy couldn't be attack lowered, he potentially would have taken an insane amount of damage at the beginning of this turn. So, yeah, basically we got a full Piccolo team. I wasn't sure, I don't know how I am still going to end up naming the video. I didn't know whether to call it, like, full NAMEKIANS team or full Piccolo team, because it is both of those things, but obviously Piccolo is the only Namekian, so maybe feels a little bit weird calling it a full Namekian team, even though, you know, technically it is, right? But we get through the Metal Cooler army, and this is where you will see how difficult this challenge can be, and where some of this luck actually did come in clutch. So you can see we have the physical Easy A Piccolo on the end there. One of the only things he does, which is very beneficial to the other units on the rotation, is that he gives 77% defense to all allies. The only downside is he doesn't really have any defense of his own other than that defense that he gets from that buff. So you're going to see right here, he's taking 1 attack in the final slot. And the amount of damage that he's going to take might surprise you. It certainly surprised me. But yeah, obviously LR Piccolo is the workhorse of the team. He's going to be the one doing the big damage, and everybody else is kind of just there, like, holding their own, trying not to die. So In fact, the fact that LR Piccolo is so good is one of the other reasons why we survived this turn, because if that had done significant damage, then we would be about to die. So, look at that, 528k from one normal attack. So, if there were 2 attacks in that last slot, the run would be over already. So, by taking that 1 attack and taking 580k damage, that drops us below 30% HP, so we get the full heal with the LR Piccolo, and now he has an extra 30% damage reduction for the rest of the fight, meaning that he is now essentially like an unkillable wall. And we have, of course, the STR Easy A Piccolo from the Cooler movie. He is actually pretty good. Like, if you get a decent amount of orbs with his super attack defense buff, he is actually pretty decent defensively. I mean, you can see him there taking double-digit damage. There's no support on the rotation because that Tech Piccolo in slot 3 only supports Namek Saga characters, so he's not actually supporting anybody else on the team. And he's a unit that also, like, he builds up by attacking, but even when he's, like, maxed out, he's definitely not a good unit for this event. You can see here, 265k. So, yet again, we're in a good spot where he took 2 attacks. That drops us below 30% HP, and we get the other Piccolo's Senzu Bean effect to go off. So, Physical Dokkan Fest Piccolo shows us that there is a super attack in slot 1. This is essentially where I had to decide how to play this, and I figured we might as well just go ahead and use the first Orange Piccolo transformation, because by resetting the turn, I'm not super hyped about there being a super attack in slot 1. Even with the STR Piccolo there to tank it, there being a super attack as the first attack of the turn is obviously not ideal for me, right? And now that we've used up our healing effects, the Physical Dokkan Fest Piccolo hasn't really gotten a lot of stacks, and unfortunately in the current meta, like, until he gets an Easy A, even with a decent amount of stacks, he's still not going to be tanking particularly well against the Metal Cooler Core. So it was the perfect opportunity to transform into Orange Piccolo and start dishing out some damage. Obviously the Metal Cooler Core has a pretty ridiculous amount of HP overall, so we are hoping for the best with additionals and crits when it comes to the attacks from Orange Piccolo. And we have a pretty mixed bag of luck when it comes to those attacks. You see we got an additional normal, but then we did get a crit on a follow-up additional super. So the luck was kind of here and there on this run. No crit on the 18 key super again, but then we do get the additional from the passive. Which again, unfortunately no crit, but then we do get the third super. So, I mean, Orange Piccolo showing here why he is so good, because even when we're not critting, he's still doing 1,000,000 damage with each of those attacks, right? So 3 attacks for 1 slot, that's still 3,000,000 damage that he's doing for free just in that 1 slot, because we can't take any damage like in return, right? So we're still in a very good position here. This is a second turn of the Orange Piccolo transformation. I don't think we get the full 3 turns. Obviously, when you do manage to get the 3 turns with him, he just absolutely annihilates everything. But getting the extra 2 key per orb as well, we picked up 3 tech orbs, and it takes him from 6 key to 18, which is, yeah, pretty good as well. But unfortunately, the RNG with the crits on that initial 18 key super continues to let us down, because, you know, I was at this point kind of thinking that the RNG that we're getting with the Orange Piccolo transformation could literally be the difference between winning and losing this run, right? Because, you know, there's a pretty significant difference in the amount of damage you do overall if you are getting those additionals and you are getting crits, right? Because, I mean, you can see, like I say, the Metal Cooler Core has so much HP that even when we are doing 1,000,000 damage, it's not exactly doing a huge chunk out of his health bar. So, obviously every little helps, but we would prefer additional supers and crits as much as possible. The Orange Piccolo transformation, not necessarily like the only win condition, but I feel like if he didn't have that transformation, the run probably wouldn't be possible, right? Because you've seen the kind of damage that some of the weaker units on the team will actually take. So, definitely a little bit tricky. So, for this turn, I put Piccolo in Physical Dokkan Fest Piccolo in slot 1 and actually transform him, because whilst he hasn't really gotten a lot of stacks off so far, once you transform, he does get extra damage reduction. so I thought that would be a good idea. And then he couldn't get a super, so I decided to move him into the last slot. I was hoping this wouldn't be a terrible mistake, but he does still have the Scouter effect, so we are able to see that there is no super attack on this turn. So I'm hoping that the 40% damage reduction on top of the fact that he is obviously getting links from the LR Piccolo, the STR Piccolo in slot 1 is providing him with support. So I was hoping that at the bare minimum, right, because we are essentially on full health, I was pretty much assuming that, was it 3 or 4 attacks at the end there? We're not just going to be an instant death for this physical Piccolo, but once this guy gets an easy A, he is obviously going to be a super, super good addition for the LR Piccolo team. But 25k is honestly a lot less than I was expecting as well, so pretty good job by our boy there in slot 3. And then, of course, this physical easy A Piccolo, we already know takes like 500 and odd K damage from a super, so of course we immediately go ahead and pop the second orange Piccolo transformation, because it's basically do or die now, right? I mean, unless we literally get, after the orange Piccolo transformation wears out, a slot where there's 1 or 0 attacks, it means that if we don't kill him with the orange Piccolo transformation, we have to kill him before he lays into that physical easy A Piccolo, basically, because we know already that we can survive 1 attack from him as long as it's not a super, but that's essentially it. And we've already used our Senzu Bean effects from Piccolo. I wanted this to be a no item run as well, because you could say, like, you know, oh, the team is pretty janky, like some of the units are pretty weak. It would still be a decent run if we did use an item, but you know, I wanted to go for the no items and make the run even more impressive. So, and like I say, this was the first attempt, so I didn't even get to scout ahead, like, how much damage the enemies were going to be doing, or like my units were going to be taking. Like, if I'd lost because that physical Piccolo took 520k, like say he was getting attacked twice in that turn, I would have potentially reconsidered either, you know, going for a no item run, or, you know, potentially switching him out for somebody else. But of course, the Namekian category, not exactly flush with top tier options, but I felt like at this point, seeing how much health the Metal Cooler Core was on at the start of this turn, I felt pretty confident that we were going to get the W here, because if we don't kill him with the orange Piccolo transformation, just the fact that we have physical, like the actual, sorry, the tech LR Piccolo, once we de-transform from the orange form, we've still got him, you know, fully built up. He's going to be spitting out like at least a 10 million attack stat when we get his 18 key super. So pretty much seals the deal here. And then, of course, if we are able to finish him off with the orange Piccolo, then that is just one step easier, right? But at this point, I was pretty convinced that we were going to get the win. I actually can't remember exactly how this finishes off. I'm recording the commentary here as I've got home after work, and I recorded the run like first thing in the morning when I got to work. So at the time of recording the commentary, I actually recorded this like 13 hours ago. So I actually can't remember what the finale of the run is. Oh, it's that we get the 3rd turn. Okay, so now that we get the 3rd turn, that's it. It's just GG. Like, even if we got really unlucky with additionals and crits, there's basically no way that he's going to survive this turn. So at this point, I was definitely celebrating a little bit. Prematurely, maybe, but obviously pretty clear that the run is in the bag. When we get that additional after a crit, it's just pretty clear that there's no way he's surviving the rest of the attacks on this turn. So, yeah, there you go. Obviously, the Namekian category absolutely still needs a lot of buffs, still needs a lot of help. I mean, if we don't put LR Piccolo in the middle slot, like, most of the units on the team don't even link with each other because they have the same name. So hopefully we do get some good Namekian buffs in the future. But yeah, there you go. That is the full Namekian team, or full Piccolo team, whichever way you want to choose to call it, beating the Metal Cooler Core Red Zone with no items used as well. So I definitely feel like this was a pretty impressive challenge run. I mean, we got lucky a few times, like I say. Seeing the kind of damage that physical Easy A Piccolo takes was definitely quite shocking, but we got the W, and that's what counts. So let me know your thoughts down below in the comment section. I could try and still do Broly as a follow-up video. Let me know if that's something you guys would like to see, and let me know your thoughts on Piccolo and the Namekian category. What buffs would you like to see coming in the future? So that is going to be it for the video, guys. This has been the Masked Ningen. Smash that like button, subscribe to the channel if you are new. Check out the links down below for the Discord and the merch store, and I will see you all again soon. Have a good one.